Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're going to talk about Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated.
We decided to bring on basically the whole crew that we played this game with. So this is Matt, and we've got Sarah. We've been playing this together from beginning to end, the four of us, so we thought it'd be fun to review it all together as well because it's a shared experience. So Clank itself is a deck-building kind of fantasy adventure game where you are building up your deck, you are buying stronger and stronger cards, using that to move throughout this board, dive as far down into the caverns as you feel like it to bring treasure back up to the top. So Clank Legacy does the same exact thing, except as legacy components. So you are tearing up cards, you are putting stickers on the boards, you are modifying things. Every character has their own special abilities. As you kind of go on and get the special cards added in. So there's a whole lot going on here. We're going to try to do this spoiler-free. At the very, very, very end of the review, we'll kind of talk about some extra kind of spoilery kind of things. But we just wanted to go through and talk about this with you guys because we had a lot of fun playing it.
And we're not going to show you how it's played because spoilers. That's all. First things first. This is what everybody wants to know. Sarah, do you need to know how to play Clank to play Clank Legacy?
No, in fact you don't, which was something that Bethany did not know
I did not.
before asking me to join the game. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? But it was a ton of fun. Definitely didn't need to know how to play it before the first round. Yeah. The first round kind of teaches you how to play. It's the basic game, more or less, and
it gives you the foundations to be able to play the rest. But what else you also want to know is, Matt, does knowing how to play Clank affect you playing Clank Legacy?
Yes, it absolutely does. I mean, base Clank is entirely competitive, and Clank Legacy is cooperative, but it's still played in a very competitive way. So if you played the original game, you're probably going to be less friendly than you should when playing the Legacy version of the game.
Yeah. Also, you don't need to know anything about Acquisitions Incorporated either to play.
I don't know.
So you can see point exactly, Matt. You proved my point. So you can go into this blind, or you can go into this with all the knowledge, and it's still going to be good.
Yes, we obviously played with people who knew and didn't know how to play Clank. I will say that to get the most out of this game, you really want to explore everything you can. If you just are basically using this box and playing regular Clank, going down to the bottom, getting some treasure and getting some points and getting out, you're missing out on a whole lot of what's inside of this box. If you want to do that, just play regular Clank, but if you're going to play the Legacy version, take advantage of every Legacy element you can. Matt mentions that it's cooperative. It's not really cooperative in the normal sense, but we made the point getting competitive, but we made the exploration of the board, we made it competitive or cooperative in the sense that, okay, hey, we're going to talk about, we want to make sure we cover as much as possible, we want to make sure that everything is touched somehow.
Oh yeah, before the game even started, we'd plan out, hey, is anybody going after this objective? Is anybody going all the way down to the bottom? We're going off to this side to flip over this tile or discover this card or do this, that, or the other. We wanted to do as much as possible to unlock as much as possible to get as much story as we possibly could. Get all the side quests. And so we did coordinate.
Tried to do all of them.
We tried to do everything, so we would coordinate what we each thought we could do in a round, and we tried to do it all.
Granted, there was one particular game, Ryan.
What? What?
Where he decided, I'm just going to go grab, the closest treasure possible and leave everyone else to die.
When there's, all these things that we need to accomplish on the board. And then after we were like, Ryan, don't do that. All three of us were like, Ryan, don't do that. And you were
audacity,
bye, suckers!
The audacity of these accusations, it's just unfounded. I didn't feel good about my health. I needed to get out of there. There's a lot of excuses here that I could make.
And that's all they are, excuses.
I didn't even win that game. That's what really sucks. I pushed the pace of the game the whole time and then didn't even win.
It was only by 1 point.
It was
by 1 point.
Justified.
So a really cool thing about this game, being someone who was coming into it blind, not knowing how Clank was played overall, is each of the boxes that you get for your character, they have different objectives and goals for that character to do. All of them are very doable. Not all of them are doable from the beginning of the game, but it definitely gives you something to shoot for that, oh, this thing just came up. I have to go for that because that's what I have to check off on my box. It definitely gave me a direction to go and something to work toward when I don't know all the intricacies of the game or what is typically good strategies. It helped me feel more competitive in the game.
One of the things I really liked was the way you augmented the game. Sometimes you would change something, it would get added to a deck or just disappear, and then just like 3 games later show up and it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I built that, I did that, and here it is again. I get to enjoy it all over again. Just being able to experience all the changes that you made, the alterations that you made, and it's just almost like nostalgic, but for something you just experienced just a little while ago, but forgot about.
Yes, yes. And I gotta say, as the resident player who lost the most and died the most, and basically like helped progress the game the least, I still really enjoyed every single game that I had, even when I knew I was losing. It was just fun to like jump around and think that I could do things, and even if I lost, I still was able to like complete a mission and do what I set out to do, and the story still progressed. Like, you're still exploring things in the book, you're still reading things, you're still getting to choose and make decisions, even if you're just like floundering when it comes to terms of winning. The game and the story are still progressing, and you get to be a part of that.
There are so many little pieces that go along with that too, from the details in the side quests and the details in the main story, but also like even the little notes like on the cards themselves. Every card has just that little bit of flavor text, and a lot of them are really clever.
There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek with it too, with like, I don't want to say all of them, and I'm not going to, but there's just so many things that are really funny that the cards are named or what they're saying, or like what Sarah said, like on the bottom of it. It's just a lot of tongue-in-cheek. We just laughed like a lot when we were playing this game. A lot.
Yeah, it was all very tongue-in-cheek and enjoyable, but one thing that was maybe...
That, like,
you know what's coming.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of side missions, and they're fun, and they're enjoyable, but they're very tenuously connected to the main story. In fact, I don't know, maybe 10% of the game is actually in any way related to the main story, and everything else is just flavor text, flavor missions, and things that don't really impact anything. They're just for fun, just for amusement. And
it kind of builds up the world like around the game, much in the way that maybe like a D&D like storyline would be. So that's interesting from that side of it, but I definitely got lost in some bits in the middle of like, wait, who is actually important here? Because I just did this really fun quest for this other guy.
Yes.
Or just not even knowing, like, oh wait, am I doing a main mission or is this a side mission? Because really the side missions are more relevant than the main missions.
Oh my gosh, yes they were.
And I think one thing that would have helped with that too, to kind of help move the story along a little smoother, was play the game more often in shorter intervals. You know, we had the unfortunate experience of there were sometimes we'd have a month between each game we played. So we'd play 1 or 2 games, and then a month would pass. And we'd play a couple more games, and then a month would pass, just because of the way the scheduling and social distancing and all those other kinds of factors played into that. But I think if we would have played them in rapid succession, I think we would have gotten a lot more out of that stuff. And plus, we wouldn't have had to reteach the rules so often. It was kind of like we'd put the game away, and we'd crack it back open, a month later and be like, okay, hold on. What happened last time?
Adding things.
Yeah,
so much to it.
What's the new stuff? What are the rules changes? So playing it in rapid succession, if possible, would definitely be preferred.
I think one thing for me, more like within the story itself or within one of the functions of the game, is like there's a pretty big antagonist that's talked about like quite a bit throughout it, and like in my opinion was like really talked up and like, oh no, you better do these things or this big bad thing's gonna get you. And I feel like the consequences from that weren't as big as like it was talked up to be, which like isn't a bad thing necessarily, because Ryan, you talked about before, like that might like ruin some of the gameplay if it was like a very large consequence. But it would have been interesting to see maybe what else they could have done with it.
Mm-hmm. really overall, I thought it was still a very enjoyable game. I liked it a lot. And being a competitive person, the semi-cooperative nature of the game was optional. I played.
There's so much to do.
No, there is so much to do. And I
You
accommodated to all the
You
side
weren't as bad as
missions.
Ryan.
Hey, I did
that
a
one
lot
game.
too.
But
Just
rest
one game.
assured, my end goal was to win. So I targeted like every category that I thought was going to be relevant, racking up them points, racking up them wins, just going out of my way to just do what I think is best for my character, but while still helping out the progression of the game itself.
Yeah.
So we've played a few Legacy style games now, and I have to say this one probably is going to rank in the upper echelon of those Legacy style, campaign style games. Man, this was just a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was lighthearted, but at the same time, there were still interesting decisions to be made. The gameplay itself was still very strong, even though the story was kind of plucky and there was all this comedy going on as well. The gameplay itself was still very strong. Yeah. The storyline kind of woven in and through kind of helped it all tie together. It added to the game as opposed to taking away from the game. It didn't distract you at all. In fact, it added to it.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. And just all the plays we had of it from beginning to end, I just really liked exploring this game. And I feel like if you are a gamer who likes games where you explore things and you like deck builders, you're going to enjoy this game.
Yeah.
You are going to get your money out of this game. You're going to have fun with the whole storyline and how it progresses, and you'll probably laugh as much as we laughed when we were playing this game. I just don't see how, if you like those two things in gameplay, that you wouldn't be able to enjoy this.
The full experience of it with having the D&D flavors to the game, like naming your character and having specific things for them to do kind of gave... Like, you could, like, put your own personality into your character and stuff. And having all those side quests and the extra flavor text, it made for a great experience for the gameplay. Again, being fun and quirky and agreeing with everything you guys have been saying. It was just a blast.
All right, so that is our overall thoughts. Now, we are going to be, after this, we're going to do kind of a, talk some more about the spoilers, some more of the actual specific things that we ran across that we enjoyed or didn't. So stay tuned to the end for that. If one of three things, either A, you've already played the game and you already know, or B, you have zero intention of ever playing it, or C, you just don't care about spoilers. All right, so yeah, that's it.
Well, until then, everybody, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. We are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. You can find us on Facebook. We are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we are Ryan and Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany. Well, everybody, this is Sarah. I'm Bethany. This is Matt. And that's Ryan.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right, everybody, we have reached the spoilers section of the review, so if you have gotten here erroneously, stop. Go backwards in time to the beginning of the video and watch from there. But otherwise, here's our spoiler section.
For a little time travel, nudge, nudge,
And that is our first spoiler. There was some time travel-y elements to the game a little bit.
Okay, you guys, the most important and best spoiler of everything. As I mentioned in the review, I was the player who lost the most, scored the least, and probably contributed the least. And yet I got the Employee of the Month! That's right, there's only one of these certificates. My character's name is on it, not their character's name. I did it. I got Employee of the Month. This is framing. We're putting it in our game room. Everybody is going to see it. This is like, besides giving birth to my children, this might be the proudest moment of my life.
Yeah, so...
And getting married.
Oh, thanks. But the person that you married is not happy about this. There was like each game you played, there was a person who like, I don't know, whatever they called it, like was the player of the game, you know.
Spotlight.
Spotlight character.
Associate Spotlight.
Spotlight.
And I had the most amount of those. I had the most amount of them. Why am I not the Employee of the Month? Or Matt, for instance.
I got the most points overall.
The most points!
Like, as I said earlier, I knew there was going to be a winner at the end of the game. So I deliberately targeted the aspects of the game that I think would have given me the victory. I targeted those aspects of the game, expecting them to matter,
Nothing.
And not only didn't
Not
they
a
matter,
zip.
but they mattered the opposite of what you think they
So,
would.
like, one of the things for the very end for, like, the stores was whoever won a game with, like, the least amount of points. Guess who got that one?
As
I
her
did.
only win.
It was my only win in the game.
Also, who died the most was
I did.
got a star for.
I got
That
that
should be
star.
penalized for
I got
that.
that star.
It's
I
not
mean,
right.
for those of us who maybe didn't do so well in each of the individual games, it was pretty fun
I
to see
get this
this.
forever. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not much else to say about it. Some of us are happy about it.
And
So-
even if
not.
it was, let's give the award to the least contributing player, they could have made it even more because there was only a handful. There was, 5 reward categories at the end of the game?
But
there
they
should have
put
been
like
15.
20 stars in the game.
Yeah, we were
remember?
expecting a lot of stars to be given out, and then there
Yeah.
wasn't.
So
It
they
was
should
like-
have at least extended the scoring a little bit. More categories,
I'm
have
fine
got
with
more
the
stars.
I'm okay with
Even
it.
if every category is a joke category for handing out the awards, there should have been more than 5 categories.
Yeah.
Well, on to a different topic. One of my favorite things. Now that I can say this in the spoilery bit. So the very first game that we played, the very first round, was my very first time playing Clank. I went down and I got my artifact, and the one that I got, it was sword. And there was a side quest to, hey, deliver it to this duke. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Like, I figure these things won't punish you. I was wrong. They took my artifact, and I had to go try and get another one.
And the game ended.
The game ended. I died. I think it was the only one that I actually died in.
Yeah.
I might have 1 or 2 or something.
And you had spent like the whole game doing this one thing.
And they took my artifact from me.
Yes.
And then it was like 1 or 2 games later or something, I got a different side quest, and I happened to be the person that went for it. And this one was like, hey, I need you to go steal a sword from a duke. And I'm like,
That's my sword! He's got my sword!
so I did go steal the sword, and then I was supposed to bring it somewhere and didn't get it there before the end of the game, so I got to keep the sword. It was a great conclusion to my utter disappointment from the
Yeah.
first
This
game.
weird sub-narrative that
Yes. Yeah.
was perfect.
Just all the quirky things like that were just so much fun throughout the entire
They
thing.
were, and a lot of the quirkiness was self-induced. I mean,
Yes.
the game had a very Mad Lib aspect to it where you're naming towns, you're naming cards, you're naming items, and you can have fun with it. And some of them are even multiple people have to name multiple aspects of it. So it
Yes.
just comes together in obscure and random ways. Like there was this piece of armor that was like defensive and protects your character and ended up being named the Wine Hat.
It was great.
Yes. We loved it.
And the wine hat ended up being an MVP in several of our...
Did.
It ended up becoming a very powerful card.
I was very concerned about the helpful NPC. There was one, like, we had spent so much time, every time you got it, you filled in a little thing about it, and so we had this whole, like, almost backstory for the character,
Yeah.
practically, at that
Yeah.
point. And then there was one mission where a companion was in danger, and it was that companion. It's like, I was concerned!
Not our helpful NPC, anyone but him.
So there's a dragon. The dragon kept on popping up throughout, especially the first half of the game a lot. And it was almost a choose-your-own-adventure situation, right? And for whatever reason, my character was always the one that was interacting with the dragon. And
Always.
And it was
Every
like...
time.
And it was like, okay, you can either run from them, or you can try to fight them, or, you know, you can just kind of like do what they say and partner with them and see what happens. And for whatever reason, my character, well, because I told it to, because I'm the player,
Yeah.
kind of siding with the dragon. And so over the course of the game, like my character and the dragon, like were like on the same team.
It was more than the same team. It was
Yeah.
an amorous relationship. there was genuine affection between.
There was a romance. There was a whole thing.
There really was. We were kind of wondering like where the eggs were coming from.
It was a lot of fun to roleplay that whole thing out, and lots of laughs came out of that. But what was the most disappointing was how we broke up.
It was essentially a breakup by way of text.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it was like,
It's like
this is
the
happening.
game finally gets real. It's everything becomes relevant. You're either going to win, you're going to lose, you're either going to save reality, or everything's going to go kaputs. And what does the dragon do? He ditches us.
Peace out.
It's gone.
He's gone. This dragon has been showing up and being bragging about how he is all big and bad and you need to do what he says the whole game. And then in the last part of the game where he can actually contribute to saving everything, he just bails.
Pieces
Gone.
out. Yeah.
That like last game though, when the dragon wasn't technically like the main antagonist, that was like really stressful. That last round, like it was a fun bit of gameplay. That was probably when we had to be the most cooperative.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we didn't all die.
Well, because it hit us so hard
Yeah.
immediately that it was all right, we need to prolong the game before we can even accomplish what we need to accomplish.
Don't make any Clank.
Tiptoe everywhere.
We just need to survive. It became like, all right,
What
we
were
need to
those,
plan
like-
every turn out to produce as little Clank as possible. It
They're
was-
like avoiding runes so we wouldn't have to put white cubes in?
Yeah.
Or did they take
We
the
were
white
avoiding
out?
picking up cards.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we didn't want to accidentally draw a dragon
Yes,
card and go
yeah.
just
Yeah.
weren't buying anything.
like, yeah.
I don't know. Some of you may have discovered that there was an extra mission as well.
That
Yes.
was a ton of fun. It was unexpected.
And it messed up our timeline.
We had set out when we were
I
gonna
didn't
play.
mean it like that. That was awesome.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like,
I assumed you liked them playing that, and that was
no,
excellent. but
like
no.
how we, like the actual amount of time we literally had to play these games. and
Yeah, we
then all of a
scheduled them
sudden-
like with 2 at a time, pretty much the whole way through.
Yeah.
And then there was an extra mission all of a sudden, and they're like, well, now...
Okay, now we got an 11th game.
Yeah, now we got half a whole extra day into this.
yeah, that was fun. And then Sarah was talking earlier. There is this Dran Enterprises.
Yeah,
The whole,
the
like-
checkmark track. Like,
Yeah.
it seemed like they talked about that so much, and if you don't do this, you're gonna get a check mark, and we're like, oh man,
We
is
don't want
that,
check
like,
marks.
what's gonna happen? We can't
Yeah.
do that. And each time it's like, we just threw a couple bad cards in the deck.
Yeah.
You can like discard
Okay.
some coins to get rid of the
But
bad card.
like what ended up happening was going to happen anyway. Do you remember that? If you
Yeah.
had if you had reached the end of the track, then Dran bought the company. But then that ended up happening anyway for part of the storyline. So like it didn't even matter.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed by that, but like, still a ton of fun. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't detract really.
The consequences could have been more severe for failing things.
Yeah. Yeah, so ultimately, you guys, we had a ton of fun with this. Hopefully, you had some fun watching it. There's expansions that go along with this as well. I have no idea what they add, but if we ever get the time to have the 4 of us sit around the table again for that many sessions, I would love to check those out. So, but yeah, Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated was a big hit for us.
Well, we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.